Hey everyone, I'm Sison, and today we're taking a look at the Samyang 35mm F1.2 lens. Now before I get into the review, I do have to mention the Samyang 35mm is made for a variety of different mirrorless mounts. So that includes the Canon EOS-M, the Fuji X-mount, Micro Four Thirds, and Sony E-mount. Now what's special about this lens is that it is a manual focus lens which has an f1.2 aperture. So that's going to be great for low light conditions, and it also helps blur the background from your subject in focus. Now today I have it on the Sony A6000, so I'm going to give you a quick tour of the lens, and at the end of the video I'll let you know what I personally think of it. So stay tuned. The lens has a plastic and metal construction. It comes supplied with a plastic barrel type lens hood and has a focus ring and aperture ring just below with markings on the lens to indicate the focusing range and aperture that you're using. It accepts 62mm filters and also has a metal lens mount. Unfortunately, there are no electronic contacts on the mount of the lens, which means that you will not have all the metadata on your photos such as aperture. Now the lens weighs approximately 420 grams, and that's with the lens hood and the lens cap included. So it really shouldn't be too heavy if you're walking around taking some snapshots or even taking some scenic shots. And having it on a camera with a grip like the A6000 definitely helps when hand holding it. The focus ring is reasonably smooth, offering little resistance when in use. Its physical size does not change as you adjust focus. Since it is a manual focus lens, I do recommend people use the focusing aids built into the camera, such as peaking and focus magnifier. The aperture ring on the lens makes changing settings easy, and while it has a clicking sound when you change the aperture, you unfortunately can't change this to make it silent. However, if you're a photographer or videographer who hates using fly-by-wire, you'll be happy to hear that it doesn't use this system. Its minimum focusing distance is 38 centimeters, which isn't so bad for a lens at this focal length. The lens produces some very sharp images, and I found it at its best at around f4. Out of focus blur is reasonably smooth, especially with the help of having an f1.2 aperture, which also makes shooting in low light scenarios easy without having to raise your ISO. Regarding distortion, I didn't find any issues with it and only found a tiny bit of chromatic aberration when shooting with it. Vignetting was a non-issue, but if you use this lens on a camera like the A7 series, which have a full frame sensor, you're going to see heavy vignetting, as this lens was made for APS-C size sensor cameras like the A6000. Now the Samyang 35mm F1.2 does a reasonable job at a reasonable price. And I feel like if you want to get really sharp images, it's best to stop down the lens to about f3.5 to f4. Although having the f1.2 aperture does make a big difference when you're shooting in low light conditions and if you really want to get some nice out of focus blur. Now being a manual focus lens, it's not going to be for everyone, but it is good to have as it's a different alternative to what's already on the market and if you're looking for a fast prime lens. Now if there's one thing to sort of complain about, it's a shame that there is no electronic contacts on the lens itself to transfer any all the metadata from the lens to the camera onto your images, but to be honest, it's not a huge loss. Now I do recommend this for anyone who shoots portraits, scenic shots and street photography who don't mind using manual focus. Now if you have any more questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. And if you already own one, let me know what you think of it, and remember to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe to my channel for more lens reviews and tutorials. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram for more sample photos and photo updates. Until then, happy shooting and thanks for watching. Today we're taking a look at the Samyang 35mm F, the Canon EOS. Why do the flies keep going in my face? Systems, mirrorless. Man, these flies are annoying me. There are like two flies on my face here. If you want the 1.2, nice and smooth to turn. Yeah, it does really give good value for money. Give good. Oh.
Sorry.